Occupation under international humanitarian law. You've probably heard the term occupation or occupied territory. An occupation is a type of international armed conflict and is governed by international humanitarian law. At its foundation, an occupation is when a state exercises an unconsented to, effective control over a territory on which it has no sovereign title. The Hague Regulations of 1907 state, territory is considered occupied when it is actually placed under the authority of the hostile army. To better understand this, let's go to the map. In this example, we have two neighboring states, State Blue and State Red. Suppose relations between the two states deteriorated, and State Red attacked State Blue. As part of its advance into Blue's territory, Red is able to take over a large area in the south, and Blue's forces are forced to retreat. The territory under Red's control would be considered occupied since the territory is not Red's, in other words, Red does not have sovereign title to it. State Blue did not consent to Red's forces being on that territory, and Red is presumably exercising effective control over this territory. Effective control here would mean Red is able to establish its authority, enforce its will on the population, and in essence be able to play the role that a government should play to the exclusion of any other established authority. Let's look at the next part of Article 42 of the Hague Regulations. The occupation extends only to the territory where such authority has been established and can be exercised. If, for example, there is a part of this territory where fighting is still taking place and Red isn't able to establish its control, or the control is not effective, then that part of the territory would not be considered occupied. Importantly, once an occupation takes place, the occupying power, here State Red, has to abide by the law of occupation, found in the 1907 Hague Regulations, the 4th Geneva Convention, Additional Protocol 1 to the Geneva Conventions, and of course, customary international humanitarian law. At its core, the occupying power must administer the territory for the benefit of the local population, and the law of occupation establishes clear rules in this regard, which include: an occupation is temporary and does not confer sovereignty over the territory to the occupying power. The occupying power must generally respect the laws in force in the occupied territory. It must ensure, as far as possible, public order and safety, the provision of food and medical care to the population, as well as ensuring hygiene and public health standards. It cannot transfer the population from or within the occupied territory. It cannot transfer its own citizens into the occupied territory. And collective punishments are prohibited, and internationally recognized judicial guarantees must be afforded in the occupied territory. These are just some of the obligations on the occupying power. Occupations normally end when the occupying power is driven out of the territory or withdraws on its own. It may also be possible for the occupying power to relinquish control over the territory to a local government, thereby allowing the people to re-establish the full and free exercise of sovereignty. To learn more about fundamental principles of IHL, follow us at dlpforum.org.